People of the internet, things are getting dicey between Bryan Callen and Brendan Schaub, and we'll find out more in the video. Bryan Callen is torturing Brendan Schaub by podcast cringe. So grab your coffee, grab your joint, let's go.
Have you been driving much in Austin? How's the traffic?
It's not bad at all.
It's not like here.
No, I don't think about it at all. It never takes more than a half an hour to get to the mothership. He'll come and get me at my house, sir.
And where's he land?
Wherever he wants.
In
If
the
there's
road?
a field,
Oh, wow.
he'll land right there. And you'll jump in and he'll just take off.
And that's legal in Texas?
It's sort of legal, but when you're Shane, you know,
You got some friends.
you got some friends, and
So he just flies his helicopter everywhere.
he flies. He doesn't drive. Well, Tony's there, Henchcliffe's there, Rogan's there every night. It's just great. You know, I get to catch up and see those
That's
guys.
great,
I fucking love it. Red Bantam start doing his place.
His
you can
place
get there
is
and
great.
do it. Oh, fucking amazing. I love it all.
It was one thing for Brendan Schaub to drag Bryan Callen to Texas, but the entire execution of the move has blown up in Brendan's face. And I'm not going to lie, I'm actually starting to feel bad for him. I've never seen Brendan with this much low energy. He barely laughed the entire podcast. He didn't even sit up and almost burst the vein in his neck while staring into the wrong camera. He didn't claim to be non-violent and then threaten violence against someone in the next breath. There was no name dropping or claiming he's super close to someone he's never met, and he didn't even falsely confuse anyone of exposing him. In this episode, Brendan just sat there slumped in his chair, looking depressed and defeated, sipping on a Diet Coke and shoving God knows what into his mouth at regular intervals as the reality of his situation set in deeper. He did, however, bring up his son's baseball in the first 2 minutes.
I think, like Brendan Schaub, I think he just wants to be accepted. And it's just, you know, I think too sometimes, like, how much more does Brendan Schaub have to take? And he digs his own grave, but you know, the internet's a weird place. They will just keep piling on until I don't know when, you know, and it's weird because a lot of these same people that pile on, when you do it back to them, you know, they get, oh, you know, and so it's like a question of when is enough for Brendan, or is Brendan just keep doing more stuff that there's never enough? You have to figure that. And it's weird. Sometimes you feel one way, sometimes you feel the other, but it just seems like the internet wants this guy to like burn into the ground. And I can't say I'm particularly for that. I just like the entertainment. And I mean, I don't want him. I thought the car thing, I thought he was going to, you know, I don't know how successful it would be, but I was like, maybe this is where he belongs. You know, the episode wasn't that bad. But I guess the internet doesn't want Brendan Schaub to survive any of this.
One more week, buddy.
One more
And then
week
I'm
in
in
this,
Austin.
bud.
One more
week. I can't wait till you get there anyway.
Now, if Tiger gets to the championship, I'm going to have to fly from Austin to
It's what we have to do sometimes.
That's all right.
Bryan Callen, on the other hand, was glowing like an expectant mother who just got back from an ultrasound. For those of you who don't know, earlier this year after the LA fires, Brendan Schaub came up with the idea to pick up shop and move to Texas. So he convinced his buddy Bryan Callen to move there with him so they could continue their podcast and hopefully save what's left of the Thick Boy empire, which has been dying in the arse for years. However, what he didn't know at the time was that Bryan would make the move on his own a couple of months before Brendan would, because Schaub would have trouble selling his multi-million-dollar mansion in Calabasas. Because Bryan was renting, he was able to get his shit together and move down there much quicker. And so over the last few weeks, Bryan's been flying back to LA to shoot episodes of The Fighter and the Kid until Schaub finally makes the move. And every time he comes back, he looks happier, healthier, and more at peace with his life, even though he wasn't able to fully beat the allegations. Brendan, on the other hand, looks like a divorced dad who gets to see his son one weekend per month after his ex-wife's new husband moved the family down to Texas for a new job and is now forced to hear about how much happier his ex-wife is without him and how well the new stepdad is going in his new job.
You've been at the mother.
I think it's kind of crazy too. If you look at some of the stuff with Brendan, he's got his wife just fully stripping down and showing all the goods on Instagram. They're both like cheating on each other. They've got all these problems and these issues. They're putting their marital problems out there. I just wonder how long, you know, just looking at Brendan, not looking at all the stupid, but all the just shit going on without him coming on the show and saying some dumb shit behind the scenes, like selling the house. It just seems like his whole life is imploding. And maybe for him, like his kid is like the only thing, you know, the sports and all that. It's like the only thing that's really keeping him on the ground. But I just, like, honestly, I don't know how much more Brendan can take, you know, just to, I don't know, man. It just seems like everything's just going so wrong. And the funny thing is once he gets to Austin, what then? Really, what is the point of him moving to Austin? If he's not going to do comedy, if he's not, you know, he's moving there for the show. I still don't understand why he's moving to Austin. It just seems like such a dumb move. And once he gets there, he's going to face more embarrassment. Joe Rogan's going to be like, you can't do fucking comedy at my place. And I just don't, I think this guy's going to snap.
Mothership a bunch. I love
Every
to
night.
see it. I
Every
see it on
night.
the pictures. I
Yeah.
love to see it.
It's great, man. I'm loving it. I'm so fired up. I'm writing like crazy.
And the room.
They give me the
there.
late spot, like I close the little boy, so I'm doing a half hour as opposed to 15 minutes. It's just such a privilege.
That's nice.
And it's great. Tony's there, Hinchcliffe's there, Rogan's there every night. It's just great. You know, I get to catch up and see those
That's
guys.
great,
I fucking love it.
Everything I predicted right here on this channel has come true so far. Bryan has hit the ground running in Texas thanks to his decades-long relationship with tall and funny comedian Joe Rogan. After the allegations relegated Bryan to the passenger seat in Brendan Schaub's train wreck of an existence, he's been struggling to score roles as a Hollywood extra, he hasn't been able to get a streaming deal for a comedy special, and he's been struggling to sell tickets on the road. Actually, that sounds exactly like Chris D'Elia. Must be a coincidence. But now that he's made the Austin sacrifice and been abducted by the comedy mothership, his career is starting to turn around. And don't get it twisted, mothership regulars are making a killing. Rogan's club is sold out every day of the week, so I have no doubt that Callen's making more money from stand-up than he does from The Fighter and the Kid. However, if you recall, back in January, I put out a poll for you guys asking what would happen to Brendan in 2025. A. Move to Texas, B. Lose his lawsuit appeal, C. Make a comedy comeback, and D. All of the above. Clearly, the correct answer is all of the above. A has already come true, and it looks like C is just around the corner.
I got an idea for us. I know you're in retirement, but I got a little idea for you to jump up on stage and do some
For
stuff.
Fighting the Kid live.
No, just for a different thing, but you might have to make a couple guest appearances.
We'll see, man.
It'll be silly and fun, and I promise
Let me
you,
get my beak wet.
you'll love it. Get your beak wet a little bit, just in front with those around a little bit. That's all.
I'm not, so in the comedy scene, look, I'm not as attached to the Brendan Schaub hate as I am like Joe Rogan going down and going down in flames. Like, that don't bother me. Like, I'm for it. Tony Hinchcliffe, just these arrogant, mean-spirited comedy tyrants that are trying to control everything. I'm all for that. But I never really hooked on to like the homeless cat thing. And Brendan Schaub was just always been entertaining to talk about. But I would like to see him make a comeback, man. Everybody loves watching a downfall. Everyone loves to bring somebody up, and then once somebody's up and the whole like newness of it washes away, people will turn on you and they'll love to see your downfall. That's just how success is. But I think Brendan's been falling for so long. I kind of want him to do something different. Don't we want Brendan to succeed? It would just be so good for the story arc, right? So good if Brendan could just make a comeback. But once again, I'm not as attached to Brendan Schaub hate as I am like Joe Rogan or Tony Hinchcliffe. Those guys, fuck them. But Brendan Schaub, I'm kind of starting to turn a little bit, and I'm like, all right. Like, as a human being, it's probably pretty unbearable being Brendan Schaub, and at some point he's got to have something good go for him, you know? But the thing is, the comeback, it's either the comeback or the blow up. One of them is coming. Because Brendan Schaub is looking like he's going to break. You just look at his face. He just seems so disinterested, angry, anxious, all kinds of things. And I just don't know which will happen first.
all. You know what I'm saying?
We'll see, dude.
Bubba went real dark there for a second. As soon as Bryan mentioned him coming out of retirement and getting back on stage, it's like all those memories of being bullied by the entire internet for being the worst comedian in the history of the world came back to haunt him in that single moment. But hear me out for a second, because I think we might be onto something here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did that just sound like Bryan was talking about going on Kill Tony? Because if he was, then fuck me dead, 100% yes, make it happen.
Yeah, you know the crazy thing? If Brendan Schaub went on Kill Tony, it would be the biggest episode ever. Bigger than Shane Gillis. Big. That's the thing, though. Brendan Schaub has some star power ability. I'm not saying he can capitalize on it and like continue to make it grow, but like a Kill Tony appearance, that is for one night, he has some ability to fucking blow up YouTube. And I'm for it too. I'm for it. And I'm going to say something. When Brendan Schaub, if you watch Gringo Poppy and you watch Joe Rogan Burns the Boats, the jokes are bad, stuff like that. But if you look at flow and delivery, Brendan Schaub definitely beats Joe Rogan. I'm just saying, what if Brendan Schaub could really turn it around? Because you look at it, right? I know we like to make fun of Brendan Schaub, but let's look at it. Brendan Schaub has some talent. He was, a college level football player. Right? That takes a lot of talents. He was a UFC fighter. That takes some talent. Whether you hate him or not, he had Joe Rogan's help, but he's been able to start a podcast and keep it going. He fooled everyone into a comedy career for a little while. He didn't do a good job like Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe, but he does have the ability to turn this around. And I'm just thinking, if Bryan is saying this, I'm thinking Tony wants to like blow Brendan apart. He just wants to bring him on the show for the embarrassment. And also, Tony, if he's smart, he knows Brendan Schaub would be one of the biggest guests ever. Brendan Schaub, I'll say it now, Brendan Schaub would be the biggest guest to ever go on Kill Tony if he did it. And maybe, if Brendan Schaub did something cool, or he fucking aced that, maybe he could turn it around. But I don't think it's the trauma of the comedy experience, because when you're out there, you have to understand, when you put yourself out there in front of the public, a lot of the public's going to hate you, right? And a lot of the public could like you. It could go either way, and there could be people in the middle. But here's the thing. When you have haters or people that just don't like you or whatever you want to call them, it doesn't really matter. There's 7 to 8, what is it? I don't know. Last time I knew it was 6, but it's probably up to 7 or 8 billion people on the planet. You think you got to get all the people on YouTube and Reddit to like you? Because that's where all the Brendan Schaub hate comes from, is YouTube and Reddit. You think that you have to keep them all there, that you have to impress everyone? You don't. There's a ton of people. And if Brendan Schaub could just capitalize, there will be people that like him. Just like there's people that like all these really bad musicians that I don't like, there are people that will like Brendan Schaub. And I would like to see him turn it around. It doesn't mean I won't make fun of him again. And it doesn't mean like his comedy. But look, Joe Rogan has fooled his audience. Tony Hinchcliffe has fooled his audience. Ari Maddie, David Lucas, Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, Mark Norman. They've all fooled everybody and to them believing that they're good comics. Brendan can do it too. And at this point, I just how much more before Brendan explodes? I'd rather see him turn it around than explode and just like fuck up his life. I know people on the internet want people to ruin their lives, their career, take their money, cancel them, but I'm not that person. I'm here for a good story. And I think the best next chapter of the story is a comeback. Now, it doesn't mean he'll always stay on top, but I think that needs to happen, because if Brendan snaps, I just don't know. I don't know how that's going to look.
If you're watching this right now from your unfurnished studio apartment, you have got to help make this happen. If there was anything we didn't deserve that nobody asked for but we desperately need, it's Brendan Schaub on Kill Tony. And I'm not talking about going on the panel as a guest. Nah, fuck that. We need him on as a guest open micer. Could you imagine Brendan making a comeback 60 seconds at a time, earning his comedy chops from the ground up, becoming a regular on Kill Tony, getting an invite to Red Band's secret show, just completely rewriting the script and proving to all the haters out there that not only is he the worst comedian in the history of the world, but he's actually willing to lean into it and resurrect the Gringo Puppy. Imagine all the recycled Texas material he'd have, such as shitting on homeless people, everyone being fat and white, complaining about the libs, and then showing off the size of his belt buckle. It would be the single funniest thing to have ever come out of the comedy mothership. And if you really want to see how bad things are in the Austin comedy scene right now, check out the link to my Patreon in the description below, where you'll find all my Netflix comedy special reviews and Kill Tony content. But as we know, Joe Rogan is the biggest obstacle for Brendan resurrecting his comedy career. So I'll come back to Brendan's Joe Rogan problem in a moment, because Bryan's Austin shenanigans did not stop there. If the stories about the Austin comedy scene didn't hurt Buppa's feelings enough, then Bryan's newfound love of helicopters certainly did. We all know that Brendan's been bleeding money for years, and he's being propped up by his dad, Peter Schaub, who's the director of Thick Boy Productions. So when Bryan brought up his old buddy who picks him up in a chopper to go for barbecue, it was yet another dagger in the back of his Texas dreams.
But with the chopper, why'd you get in the chopper?
So my buddy Shane Steiner, who is just a great guy, and I work out with, Tim Kennedy's best friend. Shane goes everywhere in a helicopter.
He flies there's that tiny
He didn't drive.
helicopter?
Doesn't drive, Bubba.
Oh, wow.
Nah, he doesn't
That's a
drive.
flex.
It's not just a flex. He'll come and get me at my house, sir.
And where's he land?
Wherever he wants. If
the
there's
road?
a field,
Oh, wow.
he'll land right there. You'll love this. We'd worked out, and he goes, "You want to get some barbecue?" I go, "Where?" He goes, "Salt Lake." I go, "How far away is that?" And he goes, "Oh, no, you can't drive. It's about an hour and, 10 minutes, but I'll get there in 7 minutes." And I went, "Huh?" He goes, "Hop in." And I hopped in.
And does he
I
have
sent
like
you
his
that video?
bags and shit in there? Like our cars?
Yeah, Bubba. He's got whatever you need in his
Like Diet Coke
helicopter.
cans and shit?
We got up, and in 7 minutes, we landed in a field
Near Terry Black?
right there. It was better than Terry Black's. Right there.
Oh,
Salt
Salt
Lake
Lake.
barbecue. Oh, Bubba, you like yourself some barbecue, right?
Yeah.
I had some bison ribs. I had some sausage. There you go.
Oh, I like bison ribs.
And then we got back in the helicopter, and I was back in my car in 7 minutes. Okay.
Damn.
Yeah. And that's hard to argue with.
Forget walking him to his trug. Buppa's about to walk you to his chopper for some sloppy toppy in his choppy. Thank him. As you would expect, though, Brendan's immediate reaction was to check out how much helicopters cost to see if he could swing it past his daddy. But it didn't take him long for him to realize that they were way out of his league, and there was no way he was going to be able to afford one.
Why don't you buy a helicopter?
Well,
Are they expensive?
he said, "I'll let you use my chopper to learn." And he was giving me a little lesson.
Was it tough to learn?
It scares me because it's so sensitive,
they
and
always
the wind,
crash. No.
when the wind hits, you go like this. The whole thing goes.
No.
And I'm like, "Oh," and he goes, "Just let it do what it's doing." I go,
No.
"I know, but I don't like this."
No.
And by the way, you're in a bubble, so you can see everything. It would take me 4 months, probably cost me $30,000, a lot of money to get your license. But then you're
30 grand for a license?
Yeah, but then you're off and a running, Bubba. Now you can pick up a
Used one?
used chopper for about 130. A Thompson.
Not terrible.
Not terrible.
I can get one
But
from
you're
like
getting-
Nom or some shit.
You're getting anywhere you want. Now I just need more money, though, Bub. I don't have the money. You understand? I'm not a helicopter guy. But if I ever make a lot of money, well, that's a lot of money right there. Now my one buddy, our boy Andy
just
Stump,
crash too
he
much.
he flies around in that. Go back.
Okay,
Go back. He
dude,
flies around
100
that one right there. That
red one?
Raven,
Red
one?
Raven, yeah.
Dude, why don't we go dibs on that one for 75K? Go
Bubba,
up, chin.
I'll do it with you.
75?
I'll do it with you, and I'm not
Oh,
kidding.
it's a 93.
And that's okay. Sanaz, you're scared of it?
This is so unnecessary. No, neither of you need a
Sanaz,
helicopter.
because we
No.
don't like to waste time.
Oh, look at the one for 37.
Oh.
Exit the
B, I'll
stage.
pick you up in a
No.
second. You know what I mean? Now, here's the problem. Sometimes you got to be careful.
That thing you're
See, this is what happens when you keep up with the Joneses. Enough is never enough. I'm down for helicopters. I've always wanted to get a pilot's or a helicopter. When I looked at helicopters, license was like 10 grand more expensive. I think the last time I looked a couple years ago, I think it was 2022, the course for a small engine plane, or the first course you take to be a plane pilot, was like 11 or 12. And then the helicopter, I think, was like 21, and I was like, whew, that's steep. And then you got to buy like headphones, those like pilot headphones and all kinds of stuff. But I just don't understand, like, how are these guys making money? I know now he's making money, but how is the show making money? It's just like they're not being, like, she's right. They're not being smart about this. But if you were going to spend some money flying a helicopter around wherever you go, fuck it, I'd be into it too.
going to die.
Yeah,
You
I'm
and
not
I would
doing
die.
that. That's
No,
not.
I
I'm
flip
not doing
truck.
that.
Dude,
So-
look at that little bitch made one for 42 grand. That
we
could
can-
be us.
Come on. that could be us.
Single seat. No, we'll partner up.
That's a single seat?
Yeah, we'll partner
No,
up.
we need
96
two
though.
seats.
Brian, consider her
Experimental
That's what I'm
helicopter.
saying. For
Need two
40
seats.
grand though?
Yeah. Now you got to spend. You buy a good one.
Yeah, you really don't want a penny pinch on a helicopter.
No, you don't want a penny pinch on a helicopter.
You don't want a penny pinch on helicopters or tattoos.
And maintenance.
You know?
That's a good joke.
Don't look for the best.
That's a good joke. I need to steal that. If you guys see that on stage at the mothership, it belongs to Brendan Schaub and he's not getting credit. Don't penny pinch on tattoos or helicopters. That's a great joke.
Yeah, that's actually a terrible joke, B. But don't let that discourage you, Brendan. Kill Tony's waiting for you. Trust me, you're gonna kill it. I'm not gonna lie though, this whole conversation was funny as fuck. Seeing the rocks in Brendan's head slowly turning as he tries to navigate the world of aviation in real time was an absolute peach's delight. He also had a moment of true self-awareness where he acknowledged that flippin' trugs is one thing, but flippin' choppers is a whole other thing entirely.
It's so convenient. He flies by my house. I'm with my
Dude,
kids.
it's so Texas.
I'm with my kids, and he buzzes my house. My kids were like, ah! He's looking at me like this.
They think Dad's Bruce Wayne.
He comes right down to the trees. He's like, gig. My wife is like, your friend's out there, and he's like, what are you doing, fucker? I could land that field. If you're ever late, we'll just go. I was like, what?
Wow.
And he goes, Rogan's like a half a mile away from you.
Man, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Can't really mod helicopters, though, I assume.
Well, he's been sending me options.
Well, it says helicopters are statistically more dangerous than driving.
Are generally considered more dangerous than cars and airplanes. What?
Wait, it says helicopters fatalities per flight hour than car accidents per driving hour. Okay, well, 27 times more dangerous than driving a car.
What?
Well, that's because when there's no fender benders.
There's no fender
It's
benders.
just mistake.
Well,
Oh, you're gonna learn.
did you see?
in
So that
heaven? Yeah, like I've made a few mistakes driving my day, right? In all the cars I've had, if I made that mistake, like if you were like, "Oh, Brendan flipped his TRX," right? I'm fine. Got a concussion. I was fine. Brendan flipped his helicopter. R.I.P.
So if helicopters are 27 times more dangerous than cars, then for our boy Bupper, we'd better add a 0 to that. Like a handicap. But could you imagine if Brendan managed to convince his dad and Legs to get him a chopper, and he got his license and everything? Forget drive fast all gas, we're talking about fly high, don't land. Fly by day, comedy mothership green room by night, all day. I'm telling you, it could work. He's even got the chopper impression down already. It's 10 times better than Callen's.
he comes right down to the trees. He's like, gig. My wife is like, your friend's out there, and he's like, what are you doing, fucker?
Gets out his helicopter. Then we got a club. In the club. Shink. Tick, 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 ding. In the hole. He goes, see you later. 500 grand.
Gangster move.
Gangster.
Yeah, Brendan's got that chopper noise down for sure. Brian sounds like a car that won't start. But all jokes aside, this move to Texas is going to be a real problem for Schaub. And the irony is the man standing in his way is the very man who started all of this in the first place.
Bro, here's the thing. I don't think I meant to say it earlier about being a content creator or a celebrity or famous person, just realizing that never will like you. I don't think any of that is Brendan's problem. I think Brendan's scared of Joe, and I think Joe has said some fucked up shit to him. You know how Joe, we saw that Joe doesn't like when people bomb. I think Joe promoted him, and then all the shit hit him, and then Joe has just had all of this. And I don't understand why you've got to be so fearful of Joe. It just does not make sense. But people are. And I guess if you're a bad comedian and the Mothership's the only place, or maybe Brian Redband's club are the only places you go, if you lose that and you're in Austin, it's like, what do? You know, do you obviously he has a wife that just spends all his money, and he spends all his money. So what do you do if you're not making any money? He does have his dad, though. Shit. Well, there you go.
Alex Pereira is the scariest kickboxers ever competed in the sport. He's the one guy above all that I would say if he hits you once, you're dead. He just has to hit you once. Out of all the guys I've ever seen fight, I don't think anybody I could say that more than that guy, including in kickboxing, in everything.
He's terrifying, dude.
He's crazy.
I remember when he came to the Mothership and they were like, the security were like, it was terrifying because he was like, I want to meet Joe now. And the security were like, I don't know what to do.
Yo, me and DC were in the hallway upstairs in the Mothership, and he's teaching us how he checks the calf kick. You know that little area where the elevator is, where the VIP is? So we're standing there in this little crowded area. There's like 5 of us. And Poeton's kicking my legs, and he's kicking DC's legs, and he's explaining how he lifts his leg up this way, and this is how he checks it. And you're like, oh, shit.
Goddamn.
And both DC and I, would we tell people about this? And again, like, how does a guy like that go and become a regular person? How do you integrate and just be a regular guy after that?
Yeah.
It's got to be very weird. Like, Schaub's figured it out.
Yeah.
But Schaub got lucky that he found podcasting, and he, found his car show, All Gas, No Brakes. So like he found a way to transition and still have a good time.
Yeah, it's very few guys.
That is just fucking unbelievable. The way Rogan brought that up with a straight face and got it completely wrong is just next level comedy. Talk about kicking a guy while he's down. Brendan started that channel, Drive Fast All Gas, 18 months ago and is still yet to break 10K subscribers when he's the most frequent guest in JRE history and runs 3 other podcasts himself. Not to mention the fact that his podcasts very rarely break 50,000 views. Like, just let the guy go, Joe. He's already dead. Stop the fight. This is where I start to feel bad for your boy Brendan. We know how much he looks up to Rogan. He's his North Star. He runs everything past him and takes his advice in every facet. And then Rogan can't even remember the name of his stupid-ass car channel that nobody watches anyway and clearly exists as a way for Brendan's dad to write off all of Brendan's cars. Then
it's just kind of crazy. I don't. Yeah. Yeah, you start feeling bad for him, man. I don't want to see someone like suffer. Well, some people, but I don't want to see Brendan Schaub. He's trying it. You know what? Here's the thing you could give Brendan. No matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody does, he always shows up to his podcast. He's doing it and he's trying. It's just like some way he's got to figure out how to turn it around, or the internet's gonna drag him to hell. You know, I just don't want that. You know. He's not one of the people that I specifically wish that on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ooh, there's some other out there, but not him. I just think at some point enough is enough.
Joe will drag him onto a fight companion where Brendan will make an absolute fool of himself, get every prediction wrong, claim that he milks scorpions, and mispronounce words with more than 2 syllables. But it's all good because Jamie turned off the live chat. I mean, what exactly is Brendan going down to Texas for? It's clearly working out for Bryan Callen, but what's in it for Brendan? We all know Rogan's not going to let him in the comedy mothership.
Years ago, you told Brendan on this podcast that he shouldn't.
Yes.
Like, when do you feel like a fighter should walk away? Like, for example,
with me and him, I was friends with him, so I knew that he wasn't really committed. And also, I trained with him a few times, and I knew like his lust for training wasn't there. And I was worried that neurologically he was suffering. There's gonna come a point in time where you have to stop, and now is the best time to stop. Like, you already have a career. You're doing podcasting. You're doing well. He was making more money doing podcasting than he ever did fighting. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you've got it out right now. You're a funny guy. You're fun to hang out with. I mean, he might not have the best stand-up, but talking to the dude, he's a funny dude. He's got a great personality. He's fun to talk to.
You telling Brendan that, like, or just being honest enough to say you need to polish up your stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people surround themselves with yes man, like that comfort, right? It's so important.
You're telling that to Joe Rogan? Oh man, Joe Rogan is the ultimate yes man collector. It's funny. I wonder, has Will Harris been back on since?
To have people that's going to be honest with you.
Holy shit, the irony of that conversation is next level. Rogan is the worst example of a rich and famous person surrounding himself with a bunch of yes men who continuously bend over to kiss the ring while simultaneously being one of the worst comedians in history. If anyone needs to polish their stand-up, it's your boy Joe Rogan. The net result of that conversation, where Rogan told Brendan to retire from fighting and focus on podcasting and stand-up comedy, is that his podcast is barely making any money and he's retired from comedy. This is why I'm starting to empathize with Brendan, because he's too stupid to see that none of the guys around him give a fuck anymore. Well, it's either stupidity or he knows he doesn't have any other choice. I really think moving to Texas is going to ruin him. He's dragging his wife and kids away from their friends and family based on the false promise of a better life and more opportunities, when the reality is he's left the Golden Hour podcast back in LA. The Schaub show is basically dead at this point. Bryan Callen's got one foot out the door and one in the chopper, and Brendan's comedy career is dead on arrival. What are we doing here, B? Sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Remember though, if you want to see my detailed breakdowns of all the Netflix comedy specials and all the big Kill Tony shows, don't forget to head over to my Patreon via the link in the description. There's a bunch of other stuff on there that you might be interested in as well, so go and check that out. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe to my channel right here on YouTube and hit the like button while you're here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
He's so.
I feel like we could pick it up.
I think so too. 100%.
And it could pay for itself, giving helicopter tours,
100%.
flying where you want to go. We're like Uber for choppers.
Yep.
Have you been driving?
Yeah, it's just it's sad. And I think one of the reasons that the empathy is what he said. It's just when you have people around you that are lying to you, using you, whatever. And when he gets to Austin, they're just he's given up everything. And I just think it's not going to be good. I don't think it's going to be good, but you never know. Yeah, maybe he's just a glutton for punishment. Let me know what you think in the comments.